Yang Gang. Can you hear me out there, Yang Gang? All right, good. We got this microphone. We're gonna see how this works. How's the stream coming through? Broke. That's us, baby. I wonder if I can turn this camera around while I'm doing this. Oh, Lord. Alright, good. We got a hot spot, but we're trying to figure out how to use it, y'all. We from the country, we're a little bit slow. So hopefully I got everything plugged in right. Okay, Vince, okay. My bad, man. All right, so right there where all those posters are up, that's where we got inside information Andrew Yang is gonna talk from. So we are good to go. I'm standing in front of this booth that says reserved on it. And it's got one of Andrew's books sitting on it. I don't know who it's reserved for. There seems to be a good mix of the crowd here. I'm gonna try to give y'all a shot in just a minute. There's a big crowd right here. Who's sitting right next to him? Yang Gang hoodie. Where did you see a Yang? Oh, he does have a Yang Gang hoodie. Where did you get your Yang Gang hoodie? Where did you get your hoodie? Did you? Yang Gang, that is homemade right there. The creativity of the Yang Gang. So we've been promising y'all a live stream, but we didn't want just this to be it. Y'all spread this live stream around. Tweet it out. Make sure you get some people on here. The lady that you're looking at, dead center of the screen, that is Christine, and she used to work for Steve Marchand's campaign, and now she's working for the Andrew Yang campaign. Is it a pub? Maybe. I think so. Town Hall or pub? Yes, I see beer. We might have to locate us some beer, Yang Gang. Everywhere. Oh my word, Yang Gang. Y'all got to see this, man. Hold up. All right, I'm thinking I see Captain, it might be Captain Jack Sparrow over there, I don't know. Definitely some creative Yang Gang, and I think I see a robot. See that robot? We'll see if we can get an interview with the robot. I don't know how this is going to work, Yang Gang, because I've got to hold the microphone. Now I got to unhitch it. Hold on, Yang Gang. We are traveling. Brother, can I get you to hold that sign up for the Yang Gang? Look at that. Robots for Yang. Appreciate you, brother. All right, we're gonna try to make our way back. All right, we're gonna put you back on the stand. Y'all still with me? We appreciate you, Mark. Yang Gang is awesome. Believe it. You know, we were talking earlier, Yang Gang, that if in some strange universe Andrew Yang doesn't win, it's like we're still going to be Yang Gang. Like it doesn't matter. We're always going to be Yang Gang. Uh-oh. This thing's about to talk, y'all.
Just press have my feet.
Yeah, you can hear it. Hey, y'all were talking about getting on the local news, right? Let me get this turned around, Yang Gang. Look at right there. Looks like we got some coverage, y'all. What y'all think about that?
Testing this one. Are you picking it up? Yeah.
What's up, Yang Gang? No, I didn't bring the rooster. I sure didn't bring that rooster. Yes, probably one. So what's up, Yang Gang fan? Ooh, y'all are pretty. Can't really see you, but I can see you in my head. What's up, Yang Gang from Georgia? Hey, y'all, I'm reading the chat, so I'm watching y'all too. So what y'all think about this latest Yang news that's been going on? How many of y'all out there think we're saying who's strong? Man, we got Georgia representing. She's around here, Yang Gang. She's around here. Oh, look, hold up. Mommy Yang Gang's party. There's Mama Yang Gang. She's over there with Little Yang Gang. Oh, appreciate you, Fred. What's up, dude? Be safe out there on the road, Fred. For real. Other Freds be driving crazy. Yep, dead center. Look, Little Yang Gang's waving. That's awesome. Oh, look at that. Look at that sign back there. That's a beautiful sign. That's awesome. Well, the man, the math, the legend should be here. What's up, Chuck Smith? Michael, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Real. We have got, listen, y'all. We have got breakfast in the morning with Andrew Yang. Thank you, SC. Tell Yang to come to Florida. I think we should all come to Florida because it's cold as hell up here almost. Don Bo, what's up? Yang Gang. Let's see if we can get back on Mama Yang Gang. Yes, absolutely. Yang Gang, we are about to switch location. I was wondering who that was for.
Yeah, sorry. It was just like, if anyone needed straight. Sorry, he's just going to move his system.
Hold on, Yang Gang. Gang Gang, we had to switch locations. Hold up. I'm gonna try to get my tripod right. I'm a little bit crooked. Hold up. Stay with me. We had to switch locations. Thank y'all so much out there. Thank you. You all right, Kiki? Mama Yang Gang is breathing. I agree. I got to figure out my tripod legs, y'all. Get you. All right, y'all still with me? Ooh, it is starting to get hot and mud stew in this place. There's a lot of people in here, Yang Gang. Turn up the Mac. Oh, but look, I'm telling you what, it's so hot in here, Mama Yang Gang is gonna have to go. Look, I'm trying to like telepathically connect with Mama Yang Gang over there. Let's see if it works. Let's see if she looks at me. All right, Mama Yang Gang. I am staring at you, hoping to connect with you telepathically. And look, see, we are connected. We are connected. Look at this, dude. This event is in New Hampshire, y'all. We are in New Hampshire. All right, Yang Gang, y'all don't understand. When I say this is a packed house, this is a packed house. I'm going to try to spin the camera around so that y'all can take a look. I mean, Yummy, yummy, yummy. It is a great mix of people. It is a great mix of people. We got the boomer generation on down. This is a great mix. Thank you so much, Chuck. Thank you. Yeah, we for real gonna have to have stadiums here pretty soon. What guy taking a drink? The guy in the center of the screen? Oh yeah, for sure. We'll be happening. Yes, that is Little Yang Gang. He is here in attendance. He loves him some Andrew Yang, for sure. We think Andrew Yang likes him too. What's up, Serpent? Wow, that's crazy, Kevin. Y'all can get this stream out there. Y'all get this stream out there. We got Yang Gang royalty over here. We're gonna see what other friends we know. What's up, main Yang Gang? Totally a ripoff. Thank you so much. So we're gonna turn this camera around a little bit. Just FaceTime. I like to see y'all's face too. So what's up, y'all? Y'all ready for this Yang event? We've been out over here. I think we will. And probably be coming through the back door that y'all were looking at over there. Look, this is the microphone that we got. So I hope everything's coming out loud. So y'all got any questions or anything y'all want to ask? Leave? I got food in my meat. I got some food. Oh, Ohio. Oh, that's cool. We are definitely, Kiki, we are going to be coming to Ohio for the debates. Yeah, y'all want to tune into that. Y'all listen, it's so crazy because I have family. I have 4 sisters and 3 of them live in Ohio that I have never met. Hold the microphone closer to my mouth. So anyway, y'all, but I have 3 sisters there that I've never met in Ohio. So it is going to be really cool that I might be able to get to meet them for the first time. Just a robot. How's that? That better? Microphone check. He will be speaking in probably about 10 minutes. This is Andrew Yang Town Hall event in New Hampshire. Please like, share, subscribe, donate if you can. We appreciate you. So nothing has happened as of yet. Y'all are talking to me. Y'all are talking to me. It is in right near Portsmouth. I can't remember the name of the town. Oh, I'm gonna tell you better believe that we're yanking people in New Hampshire for sure. Early voting state too, y'all. Every dollar that y'all put into this channel, it comes back to you in voters. I promise you that. So if y'all can donate, please donate. I should become a reporter. I'm pretty enough. I've seen some of these reporters. I'm as pretty as they are. They just talk better than I do. I'm a little bit country for most people. So if you are just joining us, we are live in near Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and we are doing the Andrew Yang live stream. Y'all, I hope this video quality stays good, because we ain't figured out the hotspot yet. How many people, if I had to guess, as of right now, including the guy dressed up as a robot and the guy dressed up as a pirate, probably about, I want to say about 400 in here at least. It's a good crowd, man. Yang goes on in as many minutes as it takes, Smith David. Sorry about any delays. We are waiting for the rock star himself. I see Will Chin back there. I see Will. Let's see if I can get a shot of him. Can't really see him. And this guy back here in the suit behind me. Y'all see that guy over my left shoulder? He keeps pointing at me and being like, I don't know who that dude is, but he acts like he's important. Me, I'm just a little Yang Gang guy. Show us the hybrid, seriously. He's like hidden right now. Like even if I turn the camera, y'all wouldn't be able to see him. This place is packed, y'all. We are packed. If he wants this spot, he can try to come and take it with his muscle. Because I promise you, I ain't moving again. Uh-oh, look. Let's see. Hold on. Mama Yang Gang side here. Oh, look. One of y'all out there buy me a beer. Look at that. My gracious. Wow. I don't know which is prettier. Thank you so much. What's my Yang story? My Yang story. Where do you start with a Yang story? You start with just like, hey, no, independent. It just looks like a big beard. I promise you, this is not a big beard. That is awesome. They disappeared back into the crowd again. I don't know where. Brother, if that stuff down there, if that stuff under your seat is in your way, just kick it behind you.
Oh, okay. I want to drop her umbrella.
Oh, got it? Get it? All right. Cool. Cool deal. There you go, Chuck Smith. Exactly right. That's a small boy. I just hope it's as refreshing as it looks. Hold on, man. Oh my word. Woo. Should I turn the camera back around? Or y'all want to look at them people? Yang does need to come to North Carolina. Oh, Yang is definitely a beer guy. There's no need to ask. He is definitely a beer guy. Thank you so much, Jody K. Yes, please thumb up this stream, y'all. Get as many people in here as you can. Y'all tweet it out, Facebook it, whatever it takes. Yes, Kiki's definitely a beer guy. What? I'm pretty sure he'll drink a beer. I'm trying to remember if I've seen him drink beer. Yeah, we've seriously been around him that much. Oh, we can do way better than 100. Look, I see 186 registering on my screen right now. Oh, okay. He will have a beer, definitely, but he doesn't really drink. I guess I can see that. There you go. See, that's right. He will have a beer, but he doesn't drink. He doesn't make it a habit, y'all. I guess that's what we're saying. I should be the official Russell on Instagram. I don't even know what that means. I'm not even on Instagram. Christopher, we remember when we didn't have very many views either. We're still trying to perfect our craft, though. We're getting better at it. Thank you, Mike. We appreciate you very much. Oh. Yes, definitely. Share and like. Should we turn the camera back around? Or y'all want to watch them? Oh, we up to 191. That's pretty cool. What's behind the camera? Your face, my face. My face is behind the camera. Thank you so much, Mark. Can you say that? I sure do appreciate it. That means a lot. Get this right here. Y'all see them official cameras right over my shoulder? That's some real equipment there. Hey, Mike, we appreciate it. We dig the Yang Gang watching this channel. You can believe that. You know, the only thing I'm mad about New Hampshire, there are so many New England Patriot fans. We love Patriot fans too. Oh, you know I'm gonna get legit seats. Somebody saw us coming up the steps and they was like, look, it's Yang Gang royalty. I was like, oh Lord, let's go get a seat. They told us where he was gonna be standing and everything, y'all. Y'all, if you're in Washington, it doesn't matter what state you're in, you can do phone banking for Yang, okay? Text banking. If y'all don't talk to people on the phone, text bank. Get out there and do this shit, man. We got a White House to win. Thank you so much, Robert. That's absolutely right. Because I promise you, the broke folk vote is very real. It's very real. We are everywhere. There are so many people living paycheck to paycheck, y'all. We shouldn't have to. We really shouldn't have to. In the age and era that we're living in, we should definitely not have to live paycheck to paycheck. I'm trying to get my math out. Yes, sir. Always on the grind. You can believe it. Y'all see, I got my thing here. Grassroots Yang Gang movement. We represent y'all. Andrea, thank you so much. We appreciate it very, very much. Y'all, listen, y'all don't know what every dollar, it all helps. It all helps. That's how we get to these events. That's how we pay $25 a plate to go to an Andrew Yang breakfast fundraiser tomorrow. Y'all, this is how we do it. Y'all, we can't do it without you. We only exist because of you. For sure. Broke folk vote for the win, baby. We are going all the way to the White House. You can believe that. We are going to spread. Listen, we need 60,000 votes in New Hampshire for him to be like second or third, right? We got to make that happen, y'all. We need him in the top two. Top two, we're shooting for the top one. But we need 60,000 bare minimum. That's what we got to have. And that's why we are up here in New Hampshire. That's why we are going to enjoy this brutal winter up here. So y'all, please, winter coats, gotta have them. Winter clothes, gotta have them. Bernie for vice pres. I mean, listen, I like Bernie. I think he's a little bit out of touch with the way things are in the streets right now. I think probably if I had to pick a vice president who was progressive enough to understand universal basic income, it's got to be Tulsi. You said it, Vanessa. It's got to be Tulsi. Because Tulsi, she's going to be the one that's on board. She's going to be the one that's the powerhouse behind Andrew Yang. Hopefully. That's what we're hoping for anyway. That's what I'm hoping for. As a conservative, coming from the conservative side, I would actually like to see Tulsi. And it's amazing, since I've been over here on the Democrat side, or the Yangocrat side, just the amount of people who actually care about this country, man. We are, say hi to the Yang Gang. We are actually on YouTube right now. YouTube, yes sir. We are Grassroots Yang Gang. Adios, Trump. Y'all see that? That's a beautiful button. Yes sir. So we are our job is to gain 60,000 New Hampshire voters. And from the looks of things, y'all, we got a pretty good start. There's a lot of people in New Hampshire who know about Andrew Yang and who support Andrew Yang. Yeah, y'all see that robot? Robots for Yang. Yeah. We got him with the Yang 20, with the Matt hat on. We got him. We don't know who he is, but we got him. Robots for Yang. That is beautiful. I'm trying to see if I can get Jack Sparrow. Wait, he's hiding over there behind Mr. Robot. Y'all see his hat barely. I'm trying to get him in the shot, though. Oh, thank you. I appreciate being better than corporate journalists because a lot of them that I met ain't no count. I've met a few on this campaign trail since we've been doing this. Robots for Yang for sure. That's right, Yang Gang forever. Because Yang Gang, we are going to be Yang Gang for life. I promise you that. Yang Gang ain't going nowhere, and we're damn sure going to try to take the White House. But if for some reason we can't, this is an open invitation to everybody out there to continue to be Yang Gang for life. I love y'all, man. I really do. This has been the most awesome community that I've ever been a part of. So much love in this community. Everybody in this community is all about humanity first. So I'm seeing movement. We might have to pause. I don't know, man. If the robot's a little bit bigger than me, if I punch him, he might punch back.
How's everybody doing?
Let's go.
Thanks for coming out tonight. My
go.
name is Michael Strand. I'm the chair of the Peterborough Democratic Committee. And welcome to Post and Beam. If you haven't met them, that's the Yang Gang.
Yeah!
Also very important, I wore a tie tonight because I knew Andrew wouldn't. The thing about Andrew Yang is not just that he's the smartest candidate in this race, and being Asian doesn't have a damn thing to do with it. He's the most intelligent American running because he understands complex problems and offers solutions in ways few other candidates can or have the courage to. Andrew Yang is a critical voice who needs to play a leading role in our national, social, and economic conversation. And he's here, this far along, in this large of a race, both in spite of where he came from and because of it. Andrew and I actually have something in common, believe it or not. Both of us have family who were peanut farmers. Mine weren't in China, but they were my great-great-grandparents recently arrived from Europe once upon a time, working in California and facing down a Great Depression that ruined their farm and led many American-born and recent immigrants alike to sleep on dirt floors, just like Andrew's grandparents did. I'm not sure whether those floors were any nicer in California, but the point is we're all here because of those who struggled before us. And we better be ready and willing to struggle so that we can live up to the legacy our future demands of us. If not, what we'll leave behind, and perhaps more tragically, what we might not leave behind, will be catastrophic in consequence for our descendants. You know, the American journey is one of many migrations and even more immigrants, past, present, and future. That journey is one we're all part of, and it's a journey that's far from over. We don't exist as some distant bookend in the past story of ourselves. You would think that's obvious, but plenty of other politicians and elected officials and candidates can't seem to figure out that math. Andrew Yang understands the math of American history.
Yeah, he does.
He actually gets it, he's ready, he's been ready, and he's not going anywhere. And he's here to tell you himself. I won't pretend to be in the same league when it comes to talking policy. But if you are looking for a candidate who will transcend the perils of our partisan past, if you're looking for a future that is neither left nor right, but forward, do two things for me. Number one, keep this man on the debate stage, in the media, on TV, in our communities, where he will continue to speak complex solutions to difficult truths about a future that requires us to be present now, if we wish to be present years from now. Do that by seeing Christina, she's over there somewhere, and donate whatever you can to keep Andrew's voice in this conversation. $10, $5, $2, whatever you can. Number two, the second thing. Join me in welcoming Andrew Yang to Peterborough. He's here somewhere, I promise.
Is he gonna crowd surf in or what?
Yeah. I'm trying to see what's going on. Andrew Yang is trying to find.
He's very close physically. He's even closer metaphysically. He is with you right now.
You'd be surprised how close he is to where you're standing right now.
Oh, that's
So I think what I'm going to do is turn it over to someone who's a little more eloquent than myself. Most of you guys know who this character is. This is Steve Marchand.
Let's go, Steve.
All right. How y'all doing tonight?
Good.
Are you warm yet? Getting all warmed up? He is here, and so are another 50 people who could not get inside. And so the rain has stopped. The clouds have parted. Another metaphysical moment. And he'll be in a few minutes. But he's giving a little love to the folks who apparently were not as punctual as you.
The building is so packed, y'all. That there are
Have
50
we already
people
given a
standing
big
outside.
shout out to the folks here tonight at Post and Bain for hosting us tonight? A round of applause. Very nice. Obviously, if you're driving, be thoughtful, but grab a beer.
Thank you so much, Larson.
If you're not driving,
Yang, it don't matter.
grab 2 beers. How many here tonight have seen Andrew speak in person before? All right. The rest of you are about to join the Yang Gang.
Yes, sir. That's right.
I met him in January. A friend of mine, mutual friend, said, hey, you guys might connect. So we did. And by the way, some of you I know pretty well. I ran for governor last year. I love the town of Peterborough. And so we know some folks. And so we got together, and I realized, why do I like this guy so much? Okay, so like me, 44 years old, first generation American, father of 2 who really likes math. How the heck can you not like this guy? He is very close. There he is. But let me tell you, I met this guy, stuck with him, signed up with him in April. People then were wondering why this guy I've never heard of. Well, they've heard of him. The country is hearing of him. As his name ID has gone up, his place on the stage keeps moving closer and closer and closer to the dead center. Because he represents the center of America, the future of America.
Yeah.
At a time when we need big change.
There he is.
We need big leadership.
There he
And
is.
he is here in Peterborough. Ladies and gentlemen,
Yang.
of the United States, Andrew Yang.
Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang. Andrew Yang. Let's go, Yang Gang.
Hey, what's up? There you are.
Hello, New Hampshire. It's great to be back. What you may not know is that there are dozens of people who are outside who've been told there is not room for them here. So you should feel very, very savvy for getting here early and on time.
Trying to get my camera right, y'all.
You know what that means? Next time we need a bigger venue.
Right.
Oh, I love it. I love it. I've been coming here for 1.5 years. And every time the energy gets higher, the crowds get bigger, and the vision gets clearer that we can fix the problems that got Donald Trump elected in the first place. Am I right, New Hampshire?
Let's go, Yang Gang.
It's great to be back. And when I say back in New Hampshire, how many of you know that I went to high school here in the state? I went to Phillips Exeter Academy. I graduated in 1992. They just had me back a few months ago to speak. And I was honest when I got there. I said, I haven't been back in years because I did not have a good time here. And the student body then erupted in applause. And I was just like, oh my gosh. I didn't expect that reaction. Some things never change. So after I graduated, I'm going to give you a bit of a narrative arc. So I graduate from high school in 92. I go to Brown University, not that far from here. Not sure what to do, so I went to law school. Became an unhappy lawyer for 5 whole months. And I left to start a business. How many of you have started a business or organization or club or mailing list? So if you have your hand up, you know that it's very hard. And when someone asks you how it's going, what do you say? It's great. There's only one answer to that question. So my business went great until it failed. Had its mini rise and maximum fall. My parents told people I was still a lawyer. And so during that time, I realized just how tough it was, but I'd been bitten by the bug. And so I went to work at another small company and then another, had some success, eventually became the CEO of an education company that grew to become #1 in the US and was bought by a bigger company in 2009. 2009 was a tough time in most of the country. How was it here in this part of New Hampshire? Not good, right? And I thought I had a clue or some insight as to why things were so bleak. It was because all of the whiz kids I went to Exeter and Brown and Columbia with had gone to Wall Street and dreamt up these financial instruments that had crashed the economy. And so I thought, well, that's a train wreck. So what could we give them to do that would be a step up or a big leg up? And at the time I thought what the country needed was more jobs, more businesses, more entrepreneurship. So I left my job as a president of this division of this public company, and I donated some money to start a new organization called Venture for America. And what that organization does is it takes aspiring entrepreneurs, brings them to places like Detroit, Cleveland, Birmingham, New Orleans, cities around the country. So I put in some money to seed the organization, and then I started calling rich friends with this question: do you love America? And then the savvy among them said, what does it mean if I say yes? And then I said, at least $10,000. And then 12 of them said, I love America for $10,000. It's like, I thought you did. So raised a couple $100,000, then it grew and grew. Fast forward 6-7 years, helped create several thousand jobs around the country. I was honored by the Obama administration as an ambassador of global entrepreneurship. Got to bring my wife to meet the president. So my in-laws liked me a lot for about a week. So I was getting clapped on the back. People were giving me these accolades and awards saying, how did you do it? But I had this sinking feeling because as I was traveling the country, I saw the gulf that exists, the disparities, where if you fly between St. Louis and San Francisco or Michigan and Manhattan, you feel like you're traversing decades and dimensions and ways of life and not just a few time zones. How many of you grew up here in the Northeast and New England area? How about the Midwest? The South? West Coast? A few people. So I grew up in Schenectady and upstate New York, and then I came of age here in New England. So I had never seen the Midwest and the South until my time as CEO of Venture for America. And so I was digesting everything I was seeing. But then in 2016, Donald Trump became our president. And if you're here in this room, you probably reacted quite negatively to this development. Though there are many people that you're friends and neighbors with and family members that were excited about it. To me, it was a giant red flag. It was like oh my gosh, things have gotten so bad that tens of millions of our fellow Americans decided to take a chance on the narcissist reality TV star as our president. That's a giant red flag. And imagine being the guy who's getting medals and awards for creating jobs around the country and feeling like my work was like pouring water into a bathtub that had a giant hole ripped in the bottom. That for every job my entrepreneurs were creating, we're going to lose dozens or hundreds of jobs. Now, automation. So I'm going to go through some of the patterns of automation that you all are probably familiar with from your day-to-day lives. How many of you have noticed stores closing where you live here in New Hampshire? And why are those stores closing down?
Amazon.
Amazon, that's right, one word answer. Amazon's soaking up $20 billion in business every year. It's closing 30% of America's stores and malls. And, you know, I mean, I buy stuff off Amazon. It's convenient. How much did Amazon pay in taxes last year?
Zero.
Zero. So that is the math. 20 billion out, zero back in. And the most common job
How
in
much
most of
did
the country.
Amazon cost us in taxes last year?
Yeah, if you're a $1 trillion tech company paying zero in taxes, what should that have been? It should have been tens of billions of dollars easily. And the most common job in most of the country is working in retail, as a retail clerk or cashier. The average retail worker is a 39-year-old woman making between $9 and $11 an hour. So when that store or mall closes, what is her next move going to be? How many of you have seen self-serve kiosks in a fast food restaurant? McDonald's is rolling out self-serve kiosks in every location in the United States by 2021, 2 years from now. And food service and food preparation is the third most common job in the United States. Most common job, when you all call the customer service line of a big company and you get the bot, what do? You pound 000, say human until you get someone on the line, right? Raise your hand if that's what you do. Oh, I do that too. Don't worry, that software is irritating. But in 2 or 3 years, the software is going to sound like this. Hey, Andrew, how's it going? What can I do for you? It's going to be delightful, efficient, a little bit seductive, apparently. You might not even realize it's software. What's that going to mean for the 2.5 million Americans who work in call centers for a living making $14 an hour? I just spoke to a group of 70 CEOs in New York City, and I asked them, how many of you are looking at having software or AI get rid of your back office clerical workers? Guess how many hands went up out of 70? All 70. That's right, they know what's coming, and those are all of their incentives. They could actually be fired if they turn down that deal. If I'm a software company and say, hey, great news, I can get rid of your 1,000 back office call center workers with this software, if you don't do that deal, then you'll be fired in the next quarter or two, because that's the way our incentives are designed. These are the trends of the fourth industrial revolution. We're in the greatest economic transformation in the history of our country. And if you look up and look at the outcome in 2016 when Donald Trump became our president, why would you think that he won if you just turned on cable news? Russia, immigrants, what did you say, money? Oh, it's like, oh, yeah. Russia, immigrants, what else on the list?
He was famous and running against 17 other people.
Votes from labor.
The reality star element for sure. Hillary Clinton, perhaps. Emails, FBI, Facebook, women, freezing time. All of these were in the mix. But when I looked at the numbers, there's a proximate cause that's really, really clear and distinct and tells the story in numbers, where we automated away 4 million manufacturing jobs that were based in Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Iowa. And if that list of states sounds familiar, those are all the swing states you needed to win. You get rid of 4 million manufacturing jobs in those states, and if you doubt this, there's actually a direct correlation between the adoption of industrial robots in a voting district and the movement towards Trump. It's a straight line up to the right. It's the most direct correlation you can find. Now, you never hear that on cable news. When's the last time you heard a politician say the words fourth industrial revolution? Just now. And I'm barely a politician. So these are the things that I identified in 2017 when I was researching. I was like, oh my gosh, like how did Donald Trump win? Oh, we automated away these jobs. We're doing the same thing to retail and call centers and food service and eventually truck driving, which I can talk about at length, which is going to be an epic disaster. And my first move was not to run for president. My first move was to go to our leaders in Washington, D.C. and say, hey, what are we going to do about this? And what do you think the folks in Washington, D.C. said to me when I asked, what are we going to do about this?
Corporate tax breaks.
So the three most common answers I got were, number one, we cannot talk about that. Number two, we should study that further. And number three, we must educate and retrain Americans for the jobs of the future. And this third one sounds very responsible. You're like, oh, okay, we're all set. But I looked at the numbers. Do you all want to guess what the effectiveness rate was for the federally funded retraining programs for the manufacturing workers in the Midwest who lost their jobs? You say 5% or less. That's not far off. It's 0 to 15%. They're a dud.
It wasn't taken seriously either.
And so when I said to them, it's like, hey, it turns out the success rates of those programs are abysmally low. You know what their response was after that? I guess we'll get better at it. That's what passes for policy out of DC. And someone in Washington, DC said something that brought me here to you all tonight. He said, Andrew, no one in Washington, DC is going to do anything about this set of problems because this is not a town of leaders, this is a town of followers. And the only way we will do anything about it is if you create a wave in other parts of the country and bring it crashing down on our heads. And I'm so glad I had someone with me for that meeting because you would think I was making that up. You'd think that was some kind of weird Hollywood supervillain speech. Instead, it was a DC lobbyist. And it was true. And I heard this and I said, challenge accepted. I'll be back with the wave. And that's why I'm here with you tonight, people in New Hampshire.
Let's go, Yang Gang!
So this is the arc. This is the arc that brought me here to you all. That got me out of my seat and said, okay, I get it. My country does not understand what is happening to it. We are scapegoating immigrants for things that immigrants have nothing to do with. We got rid of the manufacturing jobs. We're now going to do the same thing with these other jobs. And I'm going to just take a minute to paint a picture about truck driving. How many of you all know a truck driver here in New Hampshire? Mm-hmm. It's one of the most common jobs in 29 states in this country. There are 3.5 million truckers. Average age 49, 94% men. Average education, high school or 1 year of college. Make about $50,000 a year on average. It's a very difficult, demanding job. You're away from your family 4 days a week. But it's one of the lifeblood of our economy. It's like a backbone. My friends in Silicon Valley are working on trucks that can drive themselves. And they're motivated by the money. The cost savings for automating away truck driving jobs are estimated to be $168 billion per year. I want you all to think about that number for a second, $168 billion per year. This is why we have hundreds of the smartest engineers in our country working on solving this problem. Because if you solve that problem, the payout is in the hundreds of millions of dollars. If you're a professional investor and someone comes to you and says, hey, I've got some sensors and some technology that can move that process forward, you throw down millions of dollars to invest. Because this is the biggest pot of gold, one of the biggest pots of gold in American business today. Saying that they're not going to succeed, they tell me they're 98% of the way there right now. How many of you knew that there are robot trucks on our highways right now that UPS invested in the Southwest? Oh yeah, right now. You can Google it. Now, the reason why they're in Arizona is because the self-driving trucks are really bad with something called snow. So they test them in warm places where it's not going to snow. But they think they can get over the snow hurdle through something called teleoperators. So bear with me. You remember the first time you saw TV on your cell phone? Remember that?
Right side.
Remember that? And then thinking like, wow, we can do that now? I can like actually watch a video and it's not choppy or weird. So that's 3G. We're in the process of rolling out 5G around the country. And what they're doing with trucks is they're going to equip them with teleoperating software so that if the truck is not sure what to do because of bad weather, a teleoperator is going to beam into the truck from Nevada or Arizona and drive it like a video game. There are cameras in the front. Essentially, you're turning the semi-truck into a drone, and then the drone pilot will be in Arizona or Nevada, and they'll beam in, drive it while the computer's not sure, and then the computer will go beep, 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 and then it'll be like, I'm confident again, and then the teleoperator will beam back out. What do you think the ratio is going to be between the teleoperators and the 3.5 million truckers?
1%. 1 to 100.
1 to 100, 2 to 100?
Just one. It's going to be one guy in Kansas.
There's one guy who just beams it on them all. What's that going to mean for the 3.5 million truckers or the 7 million Americans who work in truck stops, motels, and diners that rely upon the truckers getting out and having a meal? If you're a trucker, only 13% of American truckers are unionized. 87% are in mom and pop businesses. A lot of them took out personal loans that are essentially mortgages to get their own trucks. Imagine if you were a trucker who had a couple of trucks that you owed hundreds of thousands of dollars on, and then all of a sudden you're competing against robot trucks that never stop.
It's gonna be bad.
It's like having a New York City taxi medallion, that's right. Where those medallions were a secure livelihood for a long time, and then along came the ride-sharing companies. This is like that on steroids. So these are the real problems, and they're not going to go away after we get rid of Donald Trump. Donald Trump is not forever, but these problems are just now accelerating. So this is the vision we have to take to the rest of the country, and what is that vision? If you were here tonight, you heard something like this at some point. There's an Asian man running for president who wants to give everyone $1,000 a month. You remember hearing that in New Hampshire?
Yeah.
Nothing like the first time you heard that. And then the first time, it sounds like a gimmick, it sounds like a joke, it sounds like it will never happen. But if you dig into our country's history, it's deeply American. Thomas Paine was for it at the founding of the country, called it the Citizens Dividend. Martin Luther King championed it and fought for it in 1967, and it is what he was fighting for the day he was assassinated in 1968. It was so mainstream that 1,000 economists endorsed it, and it passed the U.S. House of Representatives twice in 1971 under Richard Nixon. It came this close to passing. It's called the Family Assistance
Why
Plan.
didn't it pass?
The government was so into it, they started giving money out to Americans just to see what would happen. And the data came back and it was very positive, came this close. The reason it didn't pass was that a study came out that erroneously said that giving people money increased divorce rates. And then they got a little gun shy, and then the moment passed. Then it turns out that study was wrong. But then Nixon had his problems, and then and then it got away from us. But then I actually talked to someone who worked in Democratic politics in the Senate during that time period, and he said to me, he's a little bit older now, he said to me, this was the biggest mistake we ever made. He said we should have just taken that deal. Because if they'd taken that deal, that would have set an income floor for every family from 1971 till now. Can you imagine how different things would be? Came this close. But 11 years later, one state passed a dividend where now everyone in that state gets between $1,000 and $2,000 a year. No questions asked. And what state is that?
Alaska.
And how do they pay for it?
Oil.
And what is the oil of the 21st century?
Technology.
Technology, software, big data, self-driving cars and trucks. A study just came out that said that our data is now worth more than oil. Do you remember getting your data check in the mail, New Hampshire?
Nope.
No, but someone's getting your data check in the mail. I have a feeling it's Facebook, it's Amazon, it's Google, like they're getting the data checks over and over again. They're profiting to the tune of billions of dollars, and we're seeing none of it. So what started out sounding like a gimmick actually becomes a necessary move to help us evolve in the 21st century, to build an economy that will actually work for us. If you give Americans our tiny, tiny fair share of every Amazon sale, every Google search, every Facebook ad, every robot truck mile, we can generate hundreds of billions in new revenue very, very quickly. If we do not have that mechanism in place, then our communities will just continue to get sucked dry while these mega tech companies pay zero or next to zero in taxes. And then we're just looking around being like, where's the money going? Where's the money going? Anyone know where the money's going? Like, we know where the money's going and we're paying attention. Unfortunately, and I'm going to suggest this to you all, whose fault is it if Amazon pays zero in taxes?
It's ours.
It's our fault. It's not their fault. They're doing their job. Their job is to pay as little in taxes as possible. It's our job to make sure that can't happen. And I'm going to say to you all, New Hampshire, it is your job. If you don't do this job, we're going to get another 4 years of our economy essentially getting pirated out from underneath us. This is for you. You are the only people that can make an actual functioning human-centered economy happen. If you all don't take this baton up, then it fades away. That's why I'm here with you all tonight. How many presidential candidates have you seen during the cycle? Just hold up a set of fingers. So this would be 5, 2 hands would be 10 or more. Look at that. 11. So why are all of the candidates coming to you? Because each of you is worth 1,000 Californians. That's right. What is the fire code here in this room?
About 57 less than are in it.
So whatever the fire code is, we have exactly that number of people in this room. So let's call it 200. I don't know what the fire code is. I don't want to misspeak. Let's say the fire code is 100. This is like 100,000 Californians. That's like 2.5 football stadiums. This is the kind of room you can actually start a revolution from very, very quickly. That's why we're all here. We've all done the same math. You all have the future of the country in your hands, and we love you for it. This is one of the only places where democracy actually works the way it's intended. You go to the rest of the country and you say, hey, your vote matters. They don't think their vote matters. And they're generally correct. Because they look up at our government and they see their giant pipes clogged full of millions of dollars. It's been overrun by corporate interests. And they're like, my vote doesn't matter next to the billions, the millions, the rest of it. They're generally right. Americans are pretty smart. No? Your votes matter. It does not take that many people here in New Hampshire to change the future of this country very, very quickly. So you have the Freedom Dividend on one hand, and then we have to actually have different goals and measurements for ourselves. How many of you got excited about GDP when you woke up this morning? You're like, oh, I'm gonna make a big contribution today. It's gonna be a good GDP day. My wife is at home with our 2 boys right now, one of whom is autistic. What is her work included at in GDP every year?
0.
0, and we know that's perverse. We know, I was off the trail watching our kids for 2 days, and you know what I said after a couple of days? Get me back to doing something easy like running for president as quickly as possible. Because the work is so challenging, but it's the most important work there is. And in our economic measurements, it's 0. GDP is something we made up almost 100 years ago, and even the inventor, Simon Kuznets, said this. He said we should never use this as a measurement for national well-being because it's terrible for that. And here we are riding it off a cliff 100 years later. We have record high GDP. You know what else is at record highs in this country? Stress, financial anxiety, suicides, drug overdoses. It has gotten so bad that our collective life expectancy has declined for the last 3 years in a row.
You forgot, Judge.
Debt, yeah, financial security and indebtedness, student loan debt. When is the last time America's life expectancy declined for 3 years in a row? The Spanish flu of 1918, 100 years ago, global pandemic, killed millions. We are back in Spanish flu territory as a society because of drug overdoses and suicides. We're following this GDP measurement to our own detriment. Self-driving trucks will be tremendous for GDP. It's going to increase it by tens of billions of dollars. It's going to be disastrous for many, many communities around the country. How many of you have run an organization or a division or a company? Imagine with the wrong measurements for that organization. How's that organization going to do over time? That is where we are as a country right now. We have 3 big measurements that get thrown in our faces by business and media every freaking day. And what are they? GDP, stock market prices, headline unemployment. Right? And they say if these 3 things are solid, then we're in great shape. GDP, measuring the wrong things. Stock market prices, the top 20% of Americans own 92% of stock market wealth. The bottom 80% own 8%. The bottom 50% of Americans own essentially 0. So if you're cheerleading the stock market, you're cheerleading the fortunes of the top 20% of Americans, which is not obviously relevant to the majority of us. Headline unemployment does not include labor force participation, doesn't include underemployment, doesn't include temporary or gig or contract work. If you look at our labor force participation rate right now, we're at 63%, the same levels as Costa Rica and El Salvador. Multi-decade low. Millions of Americans have gotten pushed out of the workforce. And if you remember Donald Trump in 2016, what did he say? Headline unemployment rate, like, is fake news, like, and now that he's president, he's like, oh, it's great. You remember that? Remember that switch? He did say we're going to make America great again. And then what did Hillary Clinton say in response?
America's already great.
America's already great. And that did not work. We need a different message. We need to say, look, we get it. The struggles are real. The problems are real. People are getting pushed to the side. We're more stressed out. We're more indebted. We're working harder for less. Our costs just keep creeping up. You notice how health insurance only goes in one direction? You guys ever remember getting that letter from the health insurance company being like, good news, it's cheaper this year? What's going on with that? You have entire industries whose business model is just sticking it to the American people progressively. And we're at a point now where we have to turn it around. So these are a couple of the big plans. One is the Freedom Dividend, and after you all get $1,000 a month, thank you, New Hampshire,
Yeah.
in 2021.
Let's go.
After you get this $1,000 a month, how would you spend it in real life? I want you all to reflect on it a little bit. It's a beautiful vision. I'll walk you through. So Andrew Yang right now is, I was 4th in the polls in one recent poll. Did you all see that? And I'm going to suggest to everyone here that it's a lot harder to go from anonymous to 4th in the polls than from 4th to 1st. 4th to 1st happens all the time. So after we take this vision to the rest of the country, I become president, we pass the Freedom Dividend, everyone's like, wow, that happened, it's beautiful, you get the $1,000 a month, how would you actually spend it in real life? home improvement,
Child care.
kids education, child care, start a business, car repairs. How much of it would stay right here in New Hampshire? Most all of it. A little bit of it would float up to the cloud. You might upgrade your Netflix subscription and buy an extra toaster on Amazon. But most of it would go to daycare and Little League signups and local nonprofits. This establishment, you probably come here a little bit more often, like throw down an extra bit.
Yeah.
And then each of these local businesses then hires, expands, stays open. This is the trickle-up economy, from our people, our families, and our communities up. And this is particularly important for rural areas that are the first to get depleted in the 21st century. Where if you grow up in a rural area, you know your property taxes go up, your school costs go up, and you feel like your kids unfortunately feel like they have to leave in order to live the kind of life that they want. You know, they feel like they have to go to Boston, they have to go someplace else. That's happening to rural areas around the country, and the dividend would be a game changer. Because $1,000 a month actually allows us to rebuild our local economies in a way that reflects our own priorities and values. Right now we're getting brainwashed into thinking that all of us are just market inputs. It's like economic value and human value are the same things. And if your town has no economic value, it should stop existing. This is how you wind up with the thinking that we're going to turn truck drivers into coders. You guys ever heard some of this ridiculousness? It makes no sense at all. I've been to the truck stop, and if you had a clipboard saying, how would you like to sign up for my coding school, I'd be more likely to get punched in the face than have someone sign up. So that's the kind of ridiculous thinking that happens when you just get brainwashed by like the market. You're like, if you don't have economic value, then we're gonna toss you aside, and we will go to ridiculous lengths to plug you into the market so you can be, you can be productive again. So we have to evolve past this point, because the market right now is gonna turn on us progressively. It's going to zero out the truckers. I was an unhappy lawyer for 5 months, which is long enough to know that AI can do a lot of that job too. That's true. And it doesn't matter if the truck driver is conscientious and hardworking or lazy. The robot truck doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if the radiologist is diligent and studious, or the opposite, because the software can just see tumors on a radiology film that the human eye cannot, and can reference millions of data points more than any human doctor can. If we keep on following the market logic, we're going to lose on an epic, catastrophic scale. And you can see it right now. You can see it with our communities disintegrating. You can see it in our turning on each other. How many of you all would agree with this statement? That America is getting less reasonable, less rational, less optimistic, and more prone to bad ideas and bad leadership.
Thanks, yeah.
Yeah, we have that feeling. And the main cause for it is this. In a country where 78% of us are living paycheck to paycheck and almost half can afford an unexpected $400 bill, you have a mindset of scarcity. And studies have shown that if you're focusing on just trying to make time-money trade-offs and paying next month's rent, it has the functional impact of decreasing your IQ by 13 points, or 1 standard deviation. So if you think our society is getting less reasonable, less rational, less optimistic, and more prone to bad ideas, we are. Because that is what you would expect if you were to introduce pervasive financial insecurity into a society. That is why we're turning on each other. That's why the polarization is so bad. That's why it feels like we're having totally different conversations. We have to get the boot off of our fellow citizens' throats. And if we do that, then you'll see us actually get more reasonable, more rational, and more forward-looking. We'll be able to tackle real problems like climate change that threaten us all. So this description, this diagnosis of our problems and real set of solutions is why my campaign is now growing and growing and growing. And I present to you all the case for me as the nominee. I am one of only 2 candidates in the field that 10% or more of Donald Trump voters said they will support. So if I'm the nominee, I sense there's some in this room.
Yep.
That means if I'm your nominee, we will win.
That's right, baby.
And that is the #1 criteria that Democrats have for the nominee. Really think about it for a second. It's circular. It's like, what do we want in a nominee? Just beat Donald Trump. Please, please, please beat Donald Trump. What America has not figured out yet, that there is a sure thing to beat Donald Trump, and you're looking at him.
Yeah, that's right.
It's true, that's the math. If you get the Democrats and progressives, plus 10% of Donald Trump voters, plus my fair share of independents and libertarians and people that feel politically disengaged, we win the whole thing. It's one reason why the numbers show me beating Donald Trump by 8 points here in New Hampshire, which we all know is a swing state.
Yeah.
So Donald Trump diagnosed some of the problems correctly, but his solutions were garbage and nonsense. What were his solutions? And you said it, sir. What did you say?
Build a wall.
We're going to build a wall. We're going to turn the clock back. We're going to bring the old jobs back. We have to do the opposite of all of these things, New Hampshire. We have to turn the clock forward. We have to accelerate our economy and society for the 21st century as quickly as possible. We have to evolve in the way we see work and value. And I am the ideal candidate for that job because the opposite of Donald Trump is an Asian man who likes math. Thank you very much, New Hampshire. Let's make America think harder. Let's let them know we can come together, we can solve the problems, we can set the country on a new path, because it's not left, it's not right, it's forward! That's where we're going to go. Thank you, New Hampshire. It's so great to be back with you, and I'd love to take some questions.
Q&A time.
Sure thing. Well, I have a question here, and I know at least 2 people are very active about that. How many of you all care about climate change? Yeah. Me too. And if you watched the debate from Detroit, you heard me stake out the new 3rd position on climate change. Position number 1, we have to fight climate change. Position number 2, climate change is a hoax. And then position number 3, it's worse than you think. And that is where I am. July was the hottest month in human history. The last 4 years have been the 4 warmest years in recorded history. Greenland just came out with a study saying that their ice pack is melting at the rate projected in 2070 now, 51 years earlier. The United Nations just released a report saying that we're going to be okay if the majority of the world's population goes vegetarian immediately. The numbers on the ground show very clearly that we are late to the game in fighting climate change. So we need to go very, very big in this direction as quickly as possible. I released a 5-part plan to help get us there. A lot of it's consistent with other Democratic candidates. We have to move towards more sustainable energy sources. We do have to get the rest of the world engaged because, and this is something that Americans sometimes fall into, we're only 15% of global emissions. So even if we were to go to 0 very quickly, by the math, the Earth would continue to warm. So what's happening in this other 85%? What's happening is that China is investing in renewables, but then they're going to Africa and saying, hey, great news, we've got a power plant for you. It burns coal. Would you like it? And then what does Africa say? We would love it, because Africa just wants cheap energy and it does not care about the carbon footprint. So in order to be competitive with that offer, we have to get in there and say, hey, instead of the coal burning power plant, how about some solar panels? You got a lot of sun here. How about wind? And we're going to subsidize it. We're going to make it cost competitive. We're going to make it so that this is a superior option for you by the numbers than coal. In the absence of that kind of move, our domestic efforts are not going to be enough. So number 1, move ourselves towards renewable sources of energy. Number 2, help the world do the same and try and lead a global effort. The Paris Accords are not going to be enough. I would rejoin it, but the reality is that there's not that much enforcement going on with the Paris Accords, and if we re-sign, we feel good about it, Earth continues to get warmer. Number 3, we have to not just do less of the bad, we have to do more of the good. So it's not just we pollute less, we have to try and rebuild our ecology and ecosystem. So this means planting vast tracts of trees and forest land in different parts of not just the country, but in other parts of the world. It's one of the most efficient ways to capture carbon. I mean, we all saw what happened in the Amazon rainforest. I mean, it's horrifying. We have to try and essentially rebuild a lot of these forest ecosystems. We also have to try and rebuild the ocean ecosystems. We're losing 4 to 8% of the Atlantic Ocean's biomass every year. So we have to reseed plankton and other plant life forms into the ocean if we're going to try and rebuild. I would pass a constitutional amendment saying that safeguarding the environment has to be a core responsibility of the US government to make sure it stands the test of time. And then the fifth thing is I would invest tens of billions of dollars to make our communities more resilient. I was just in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and there are hundreds of buildings that are now flooding regularly. And we all know how this works. The government, Portsmouth's a pretty well-off town, so they're doing great work. I got hands off to Portsmouth. But the government's way, as we all know, is to be reactive, not proactive, right? They wait until the disaster happens, then they rebuild. There's one house that's been rebuilt 36 times, not in New Hampshire, but in, oh, sorry about this. Where am I standing? I'm not supposed to be standing. All right, it's the Russians. They're always trying to stop the yang yang, but they can't do it. So we have to be proactive, not reactive, and we have to invest billions of dollars up front to save us tens of billions down the road. And we all know how this works. If you invest in flood prevention or the levees or making our towns more resilient, then you end up saving a lot of money down the road. And one big way to do this is to put economic resources into our hands, because you know when there's a natural disaster, who suffers the most? Poor people. People who don't even have cars to get into to drive to safety. So by putting money into our hands, it'll actually make our communities more resilient, because people will be able to protect themselves better. So this is the 5-part plan to address climate change. It's called It's Worse Than You Think. Lower emissions, higher ground. But we have to face facts that even if we did everything right, we are going to be facing this challenge for a long time, and we have to get to damage control and mitigation as well as prevention. Sir.
I'm really grateful for your 5-point plan, especially on funding for those most impacted by climate change. But one thing I didn't hear was that if we extract the oil, gas, and coal that we have permitted for right now, we kind of set ourselves on a course for the worst of the climate catastrophe. So if President, would you ban further permits for fossil fuel infrastructure?
I would ban further permits for fossil fuel infrastructure on federal land and offshore drilling. Those things I would do.
Yeah.
The other thing I would do immediately is price in carbon emissions, because how many of y'all studied economics? Sorry. I studied economics. So if you do, pollution or carbon emissions are what's called an externality, where the company pollutes and they don't pay a price, we all pay the price. So what you have to do is you have to have those operations pay the price for their emissions, and then that will end up making our energy infrastructure much more efficient very, very quickly. And the externality phenomenon, it's actually one of the main sources of problems in other aspects of American life. You can see it all over, but the environment's the most obvious and egregious. Sure, man. All right, you can take the mic. This will be fun.
Thank you. So in 2016, there was an audit done on the budget of the Department of Education under the current Secretary of the Department of Education, and it showed that there was only a reliable account for roughly 40% of the actual budget, which is $68 million currently for the Department of Education. And there are several programs and initiatives that they had that were criminally underfunded, such as the Rural Education Success Act, which only had around $170 million devoted to it. So my question is, do you have, thank you, do you have a reliable, or do you have a deliberate source of how you're going to reallocate a lot of the funds in the Department of Education now to aid a lot of the places around here, other places that are not benefiting, such as like low-income schools?
Such a detailed question. Let's give him a round of applause. It's a young man pouring over the DOE budget. When I was his age, I was, not pouring over the DOE budget. When it comes to K through 12 education, there are some big shifts I would be championing. So the biggest one, so on the teacher side, first, teachers are worth their weight in gold by the numbers. We should be paying teachers. That was very obvious by the numbers. Number 2, we should decrease our emphasis on standardized tests and teaching to the tests and let teachers do their job. Thank you. I'm going to do little bit of origin of the SAT. Did you know that we devised the SAT during World War II to figure out which kids not to send to the front lines? And now we're using it every year like every year is wartime. It's like a bludgeon to many of our young people. And one of my sons is autistic and neurologically atypical, and there are kids around the country that are getting their ambitions crushed at a very young age because they're not good at these tests. They think that their potential is limited, and I call bullshit on that. I mean, that's, we have to modify our education system not to be essentially like a factory or industrialized system that's like spitting out people to work on assembly lines. Like, we have to try and humanize our educational system, and the fastest way to do it is pay teachers more and not teach the test so much. The bigger picture is that 65 to 70% of K through 12 educational outcomes are based on non-school factors. That's parental time with a child, words read to them, stress levels in the house, type of neighborhood. And we all know this instinctively. Educators know this. Educators know that we are holding them 100% accountable for a kid's performance, and they can only control about a third. You know, and then we get frustrated when we're like, why can't you make magic? You know, it's like, we put some more money into your school. We're probably not gonna pay you more, teacher. Like, we'll probably get a consultant. Like, you know, and so the obvious measures are pay the teachers more, let them do their jobs, and then put more money into the household so the kids have a real chance to learn, and give our teachers a chance to teach.
That makes a lot of sense.
So this goes particularly far in rural areas. This goes particularly far in rural areas because, you know, like everything in the society now revolves around the almighty dollar. So the school district starts losing money, then what does it do? Cut services, cuts corners, starts letting people go and whatnot, and then you end up in this, you know, this negative spiral. And that's what we have to avoid in schools around the country because it's not serving our kids at all.
Yeah.
All right, so last one, I suppose. I'm partial to people wearing a Yang 2020 shirt. I'm a human being. I'm sorry.
What is your plan to help veterans suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder?
Are you veteran yourself? I released we have to do more for our veterans. I released a plan called More Than a Handshake that's meant to recognize that we owe our veterans much, much better. And so where PTSD is concerned, we should certainly be loosening our restrictions on therapeutic and medicinal drugs that many veterans find helpful. So one obvious one is I want to legalize marijuana nationwide and across the board. That's not just for veterans, but that's for all Americans. And I would pardon everyone who's in jail for a nonviolent marijuana-related offense. One phenomenon I noticed that I find really odd, why is it that the only people getting presidential pardons are weird rich people?
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? You should just be pardoning total unknowns who are in jail for some marijuana-related offense that you know is not even illegal in other parts of the country. Like, I want to pardon people like that.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to pardon someone that, like, some senator is like, oh, you know, you should really pardon my rich friend. It's like, forget that. I want to pardon people who shouldn't be in jail in the first place. So this would help vets on some measures. There are also some other drugs. I actually talked to a veteran who believes that there's some other psychotropic drugs like hallucinogens that some veterans have found helpful. And I said, look, for veterans, if they find it helpful, I'm willing to loosen restrictions on more than just pot. We need to invest in mental health resources for veterans in particular.
Yeah.
I'm going to expand this point for just a second. We have a mental health crisis in this country across the board. It's not just vets. My brother's a psychology professor, and I know we can do much, much more, but I also know that we have a real shortage of resources in many, many parts of the country. And one of the reasons why we have such a shortage of resources in parts of the country is that we make it very, very hard to become a counselor, therapist, or someone who can help people. We even make it hard to be a social worker. It's very, very strange. It's like people just want to help other people, and then we have this expensive training program for them, and then we pay them very, very little. You know, but if they wanted to become a corporate lawyer, then we'd be like, yeah, it's great. So we need to try and bolster the mental health resources that are available in our communities And the veteran community, I talked to a vet and he said something to me that was really affecting. He said to me, it's like, it's not just that employers aren't giving us, like aren't favoring us. Employers are actually looking for a reason to reject us. And that really affected me because then you're like, wow, that's the opposite of the way it should be for vets. But then when he said that, it rang true to me. Like it made sense to me that if you're an employer, you'd be like, well, am I going to take a chance on this veteran or not? It's like, yeah, I'll just come up with some excuse not to. So we have to do what we can to ease that by providing various incentives to hire vets and also make it easier for vets to transition into private employment by having their licenses and experience abroad or in the military transfer to the civilian world. Because I talk to vets who are military police or in waste disposal or truck drivers, and they come back and they're like, my credentials don't matter, even though I did this work for 5 years.
Or infantry.
Or infantry, and that just strikes me as ridiculous. It's like, you did it for 5 years in the toughest setting imaginable. Like, we should be freaking stamping that license saying, hey, guess what? It's good when you come home too. So those are some of the things in my More Than a Handshake plan, but thank you for asking about veterans, because I love veterans. Good work. Oh my gosh, thank you, New Hampshire!
Let's go, Andrew! Yeah!
Thank you, you're the best. I'm going to stick around for as long as it takes to take pictures and meet you all. So that's really what it is. There's a balancing act between taking questions and selfies, and now we're going to choose selfies. So thank you all very much. I will see you very, very soon.
Let's go, Andrew!
Okay, let me give you some selfie directions.
Sorry, can I get right here?
Andrew needs to take a couple of minutes and do what they call a gaggle in the business, because the press love him, and we love the press. And then he'll be back here. So if you could kind of sort of line up as much as you can here, and leave a little room at the bar for folks that want to drink while they're waiting, that would be great. Be patient, you will get your photo. Thank you.
We're gonna see if we can get Andrew. See if we can get some love, y'all. Hey Zach, when is the grassroots going to get an interview?
Look at that shirt.
What's up, bro?
How are you, bud?
Doing good, man. Robots for Yang, y'all. You know Zach loves us, y'all. Oh, he did answer. Yeah, he did, Zach.
As a short man, go for it.
Interview the robot. See what we can get y'all. Alright, so what's up, man? I'm doing good. I am Russell Peterson with Grassroots Game.
Alright.
And they wanted us to interview y'all.
Fantastic.
Alright, so you guys You guys want to state your name for the camera?
I am Abel Silva. I'm his brother, Philip Silva. Can't you see the resemblance?
I do actually see the resemblance.
Crystal clear, can't ever mistake it.
So, what made you guys Andrew Yang?
I actually became an Andrew Yang fan from this gentleman. He introduced me to his platform almost a year ago. I got a chance to go up and see Andrew in Keene. I think it was in January, February, somewhere around there. I think he is doing a great job of actually speaking to a bunch of the problems that are facing the United States right now. We've got a lot of politicians who, rather than ever actually wanting to address challenges, are really much more interested in deflecting questions and then getting to their talking points. They don't want to actually deal with what the real problems are. Andrew seems to want to get messy. Like sometimes you're going to have to. We've had a really long time where we've operated with a ton of false assumptions. Most of the economic policy for my lifespan has been this idea of trickle-down economics. Trickle-down economics don't work once you are outside of the top 0.5%. Sure, maybe if you're a 1%er, you might get a little spilled into your class, but we have watched the American middle class get utterly gutted from the Reagan administration on. Even when we've had Democratic presidents, we have not had policy that was about supporting the American middle class. What makes America great is a strong middle class. It is a middle class that is able to have economic mobility. It is a middle class that has the ability to have their kids be the first one in their families to go to college, to be able to get better jobs. And now we're looking at an entire generation that is very likely to have a real hard time even doing as well as their parents. We've seen a massive consolidation of wealth, and that's come at the expense of the American dream and of American flexibility and mobility.
Right. So, we got yours, right? Now, I gotta ask the robot something here. Are you really coming for all the jobs in America?
I want all of your jobs. I have a program to come from every job. I want to clean the toilets. I want to scrub the floors. I want to check you out at the store. But while I believe in jobs for us robots, I believe in dividends for you humans.
Oh, look at that, Yang Gang. You heard it here first. The robots want dividends for humanity. That is awesome. Y'all, we appreciate your time.
Yeah, man.
Thank you so much. Definitely check out Black Retrain.
I will.
Appreciate it.
And you were a Trump supporter before that?
I was.
All right.
I
Glad you saw the light.
And you know what? That's a 2-for-1. Every Trump supporter that you put in Andrew Yang's camp, that's one away from Donald Trump. And
Please
that's one.
bring all your friends.
Oh, we're coming. You can believe that. You can believe that. So
I got a feeling that Andrew Yang's going to do a whole lot more for you and your friends and your family than Donald Trump has ever done.
You know what, Yang Gang? None of these politicians have ever directly affected my life. But do you know what would affect my life? $1,000 a month. I promise you that'll affect my life.
I'll tell you, some people say $1,000 a month would not be transformational. That means they've never been poor.
That's right. You're exactly right. The broke folk vote is real, y'all. We're real.
And when I take all your jobs, more of you are going to be broke.
We appreciate you, bro. So what y'all think about that interview, Yang Yang? What's up, Yang Yang? Oh, I can see y'all now. I probably should have had it like this before, because that way I my face and think I was doing something. I appreciate it, Mr. Kerry King. Listen, we're out here working hard for you. Please, if you can donate, please donate if you can. We appreciate every one of y'all. Antifa for Yang, absolutely. You know what? I actually saw it. Look, y'all remember when Yang was on The View and the Yang Gang was out there? Look, my Antifa brother that I saw, that I interviewed on this channel not too long ago, he was out there in the crowd with Jay De La Rosa. Look, there's Mama Yang Gang. Say what's up, Mama Yang Gang.
That was great, right? Like always.
Am I like a celebrity here? Well, I'm like a celebrity. We're like celebrities. We're not really celebrities. We're just like celebrities. Andrew Yang is the celebrity. Exactly. They are celebrities. Steve Marchand. They're the real celebrities. All right, look. We got, what are those in the background right there?
Smiley faces.
Smiley faces with math crowns. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Listen, y'all, grassroots Yang Gang is secondary. You know, we've always said first that you need to donate to Andrew Yang's campaign. So if y'all can do that, please donate to his campaign. If y'all got $1, $2 extra laying around, donate to this channel. Y'all, our family really appreciates it. And, you know, we're going to bring you the coverage. We're going to a breakfast in the morning. If y'all are about it, it's at 7:30 in the morning. But if y'all want us to, we'll live stream that too. But y'all got to be able to support this stuff now. Yo, we're putting in the time. Would you change your son's name to Andrew if he wins it? No. I will not change my son's name to Andrew. As much as I love Andrew Yang, my son's name is Zephaniah, and it's going to stay that way. We love y'all, Yang Gang. So, are y'all going to be up at 7:30 in the morning? Because we got to be there. He's going to start talking at 7:30 in the morning. That's $25 a plate fundraiser. Would you put a GoPro camera on Yang? Secretly? I don't think Edie's going to be in a secret with him. Look at this, what we got back here, Yang Gang. How awesome is that? So who are y'all? We got mass smiley faces for Yang. We got roosters for Yang. We got robots for Yang. We have got it all, y'all. We appreciate y'all. Smiley faces for Yang. Y'all, this campaign is getting crazier and crazier. But we are most definitely going to keep bringing you the heat. For sure. Look. Who's that right now? I know who that is, don't you? Yeah. Who is that?
Think about how sustainability and technological advancement and how do we change that social infrastructure and maximize the benefit of it while recognizing the
Steve Marchand, y'all. He's a legend around here. Absolutely. Yes, it is. That is Steve Marchand, y'all. We have had him on our channel several times. Y'all already know. Y'all check out those interviews. We're going to see if we can talk to him for a second now. Come on, Cody. You all right? Sorry. You're good, bro. You good? Didn't want to do no problem. We had to let somebody through. Y'all still hear me good out there? They, security checks. Yeah.
Let me ask you this. You thought about this more than I have. And we're listening to
y'all picking up Steve Marchand over there?
Generally speaking, what we call white collar jobs, much more line type work, blue collar, not perfectly
No, not really. Y'all can't hear him? Well, we're going to see if we can get him a little bit closer. I'd like to talk to Andrew Yang too while we're here. Y'all, I haven't seen hot in there in the booth. I'm gonna switch to this other camera side. Y'all excuse me just a second. Get over here. A little bit better. Get out of everybody's way, y'all. So we waiting on Steve Marchand. Andrew's up here. He's up here talking to everybody. Meeting and greeting. There he is. I see little Yang Gang over here. What?
Where's my phone case?
It's in the bag. Or in the box.
Okay.
Yes, that is. We're going to see if we can talk to him somewhere. But y'all, once we get this up, we'll time stamp it and everything. And we will get the everything, all the links being put in the descriptions. If y'all want to donate through our PayPal link or any of that, it's over. Just click any of our videos and y'all will just click that description box and it should drop it down and everything. Thank you so much for the donations that have come in. This is how we get to do these events and bring y'all this coverage. And y'all, if y'all are ready for it, we'll be live 7:30 in the morning too, y'all. We'll do
Wait,
this.
are we doing the breakfast live?
Mama Yang Gang.
I don't know if the breakfast will be live. We will see.
She said that she doesn't know if the breakfast is going to be live.
Yes, that's what she said. I don't know if it'll be live. But,
Y'all think it's going to be live? What y'all think, Yang Gang?
you want it to be live?
You want it to be live?
Well, Yang Gang is supposed to just go to bed.
All right. So, Yang Gang, we hope y'all enjoyed the live stream. We're going to get off here and we're actually going to see if we can get a little bit more footage before we get out of here with some of the people, some of the candidates. We love you, Yang Gang, so much. We appreciate you. Oh, somebody saying Andrew Yang 2020 said live stream the breakfast. I mean,
What if we can't, though? What if it's a very closed off, no press kind of thing?
what if it's a very closed off, no press kind of thing? Mama Yang Gang is asking me right now. Yang Gang, the way I think about that, we're not media, we're family. We love y'all, Yang Gang. And if y'all want to see it, we'll bring it to you. Good night. Thank you so much. We got y'all. 7:30 in the morning. Y'all be ready. Oh, yeah, absolutely. We would like to get some questions from you. Sure. But you know what? It's going to be probably the best bet for those questions, y'all. It's probably going to be that breakfast in the morning. I don't know how many people are going to be up at 7:30 in the morning to come see Andrew Yang. But the Grassroots Yang Gang family, we will be there, y'all. We got a hotel room. Y'all, we got the cheapest hotel room, and it was like $200 for 2 nights. Holy crap. So anyway, we love you, Yang Gang. We're going to get... We'd like to talk to Steve live if we could. Hey, thank you so much for Tortuga. All right, yes, y'all definitely ding that bell because dinging that bell is what y'all gonna get y'all those notifications for when we drop a new video and stuff. So y'all make sure you ding the bell. You want to say hi? Tell them to like, share, and subscribe. So Yang Gang, I love you, Yang Gang. Good job, man. You wanna talk? What? You talk?
Somebody said hi, Zeph. See? People are talking to you.
Nice. Now, Little Yang Gang, did you see Andrew Yang tonight?
Oh my gosh, sorry if that was so loud.
And what do you think about Andrew Yang? Good? Did he do okay? Did he make a good speech? Are you going to see him for breakfast in the morning? Yeah? All right. Well, Mama Yang Gang, what did you think about the speech
It
tonight?
was great. I heard a lot of things. I was just following along, you know.
Whoop.
What happened?
Oh, where's the thing at?
I was reciting the stump speech with him.
Yeah? Yes, as we all know, the stump speech.
It was great.
And we could probably give it ourselves. Look, where does Steve Martin go?
There he is. Go catch him. Go catch him.
Thank you. So much. Thank you so much. Well, we are going to get off here. We're going to end the live stream. Gang. We'll see y'all in the morning. It's still an hour and a half drive to the hotel, y'all. Gang out.